Wang Ji. That is the man that kidnapped Shaky. It's funny, you know, coming off of the brief spoilers, it said nothing about Wang Ji at all. The chapter started, and we just heard that Shaky got kidnapped. But lo and behold, I believe it's Worst Gen. They're the ones who dropped the info that Wang Ji is the dirty traitor within the Rocks Pirates. He kidnapped Shaky, and not just that, but Wang Ji even killed Don Marlone. And that is why we do not see Don Marlone or Wang Ji at God Valley. Damn it all. Welcome back in, you guys. We got One Piece chapter 1159. The brief spoilers have dropped. I am late, but I also just woke up. It's unfortunate, man. I fell asleep only to realize that 2 hours later, if I just stayed up a little bit longer, the spoilers would have been there. But lo and behold, we are here. And this chapter, man, it's looking pretty good. It is looking pretty good, to say the least. So just in case you have not read the spoilers for yourself though yet, I will be linking it down in the pinned comment. So feel free to check it out there. In this video, we're just here to talk about the brass tacks and have some fun with it. So hopping right into it, the cover page story, man. I was wondering, you know, would Oda continue the hype train after Kozuki Moria? It turns out he doesn't. This week, we just see Yamato return to the Flower Capital, which is to be expected, right? Yamato's journey has concluded, so her returning to the capital, it makes sense. I guess now we just have to look forward to everybody's reaction when they see that she has Page 1 and Ulti with her. But yeah, it looks like things are winding down a little bit. I think they will start amping back up pretty soon. There's no way we do not see somebody attack that damn island. So, on to the chapter now. Of course, like I said, Wang Ji captures Shaky, and then she does get shipped off to God Valley, where she becomes the biggest prize at the tournament, right? We saw that coming. We all knew well in advance that Shaky was one of the main reasons for God Valley, right? They poked the beehive, and then boom, the Rocks Pirates came scrambling out of it. But this chapter, Oda adds yet another layer to God Valley. It's crazy how he's been doing that, right? Like when we first heard about God Valley back in chapter 890-ish, Sengoku just told us that that was the island where Garp and Roger teamed up to take down the Rocks Pirates, and they defended celestial dragons. We fast forward a little bit, and then it's like, boom, devil fruits were here. That's gotta be the reason. Boom, the treasure of Hachinosu, Shaky's here. Boom, Garling found a treasure that Imu wants, which we still don't know about, mind you. And then now, in this chapter, we learn that Rox's family lives there. Bro, what awful luck is that? I was in shock when I'd read that spoiler point. I was like, what do you mean his hometown is God Valley? Are you kidding me? Yes, Rox did not go there for Shaky. You know, Shaky, I'm sure he would want to save her, but his main focus on that island is to protect his wife and son. And more than just that, I would argue that Rox probably wants to protect everybody on the island. You know, if that is his hometown, yeah. You know, hell, I bet that even extends to Shanks' mom. Does Rox know her? Because that's the thing, right? Like, he grew up here. This is his homeland. Now, I think that does make the connection between Blackbeard and Shanks even stranger to an extent. Because now we know that they hail from the same island. And what's really interesting about all of this is that we still know next to nothing about Shanks and Shamrock's mom. Is she a member of the D-Clan? Is she a celestial dragon? Is she just a random woman? Because since this is Rox's homeland, what if she is a member of the Rox family? Or should I say Davy family, because Rox isn't even his name. His real name is Davy D. Zebek. Kind of like how Blackbeard has been hiding his real name. Looks like Rox has been doing the exact same. Because for Blackbeard, ever since we learned that he was Rox's son, it's like, oh, like, why doesn't he go by Rox D. Zebek? Is it because he wants to hide from the world government? Well, it looks like Rox isn't even their family name. It's straight up Davy. which again, could explain why Rox didn't want to go by that. Maybe he wanted to hide from the world government as well, right? Especially if Davy Jones is somebody from the past that Emu would have known, right? Maybe Emu would have seen the Davy name and he's like, hey, I gotta kill this guy. Davy? All right, execute him, boys. Last week, everybody was slinging theories, right? Is it a sword there? Is it an ancient weapon, a poneglyph, a dragon even? Is it a person at God Valley? Turns out that what Garling found might have just been the Davy clan. And that's why he wanted to hold the rabbit hunting tournament, because it is a cleansing event at the end of the day. It's a cleansing event. That's how they get rid of, a wide populace of people. So yeah, they wanted to exterminate the Davy clan with this tournament. That is my guess. That is what I think he found out, which is now really curious, right? It does tie back to what I said earlier. Is Shanks's mom also a part of the Davy clan? And would he be Davy D. Shanks? Well, I guess you would take over your dad's last name, so it'd be Fagarland D. Shanks, if Shanks doesn't already have a middle name then. Interesting. And that could explain why he's the child of destiny, right? Celestial Dragon and Davy clan mixing together. Maybe. Yeah, I don't want to go that extreme yet. But hell, I mean, if Shanks' mom is living on the island where Davy clan members have secretly lived for generations, I think there is a high chance that, Shanks' mom is a part of the Davy clan. And now I'm just wondering how far ODA is going to extend this. What does the Davy clan have that is so special, right? And of course, it ties back to Blackbeard, where Saturn, Katarina Devon, and Van Augur were talking about Blackbeard. They're like, yeah, his lineage is special. It's not just because of Roxy Syvduck, it's because of Davy D. Jones and the Davy clan, right? Blackbeard adding more and more layers to these characters, brother. It is absurd. So, yes, does the Davy clan have something special about their bodies? Is that why Blackbeard can't sleep? And also, does the Davy clan have any sort of special treasure that's hidden within that island? Kind of like how Joy Boy passed down something that later became Laugh-Tale, and that's Joy Boy's treasure. Does Davy Jones have something similar? Like maybe that is also what Garling found, right? They could be protecting something on that island. Oda, like I said, at this point, is just adding more and more layers to this damn island, so I wouldn't be shocked about that right now. So yes, Rox D. Syvduck, or should I say Davy D. Syvduck? It's gonna take a while to make that switch, man. We've been calling him Rox for a while now, so switching it over to Davy is gonna be tough. But Davy D. Syvduck went off to save his familia. Brother, do the Rox Pirates know? Do they know that Rox's family lives there? Because last chapter, it was a major secret. It was a top secret. Nobody really knew the details about Rox's family situation. So I'm assuming at this point that he's telling his gang, hey, we gotta go save Shaki. We have to save the treasure of Hachinosu. So that is why we have that narrative. But in reality, he wants to save his family. Because he doesn't, I'm assuming, still want to give out that information yet. The only person, to our knowledge, that he told about his family outright was King Harald, his best friend, which, painful again, man. Last chapter they fought, and now we see their final meeting here. It looks like Rox and Harald were fighting because, of course, Harald wants to join the world government. And after Rox spills his heart about his family, we get a spoiler point that says that Harald loses on purpose and he lets Rox carry on with his travel. Yeah, good guy Harald, right? He said, oh, maybe I shouldn't fight Rox right now. Maybe I'll just lose this battle so that Rox can save his son and wife. So, we got two more things to talk about. First up, Ginny. I'm assuming this is because Oda wanted to make the timeline more viable, but Ginny, originally, to our knowledge, was the one who leaked the information about God Valley, right? She talked about all the big prizes there. And that's why the Rox Pirates and the Raja Pirates decided to start moving. Turns out we take a little bit of that off of Ginny this chapter, and somebody leaked it well beforehand, and that person was Big News Morgans. Big News Morgans was the one who initially leaked God Valley information to Hachinosu. Which now begs the question again. We always ask this. Every single time he's mentioned, we ask. But how does he have this info? this is top secret information about where the Celestial Dragons are going to hold a cleansing tournament. Who is he? How does he know this? You know, I don't know if he's like just the world's best wiretapper, or if he actually has a mole within the Holy Knights, or if he is a Holy Knight. But either way, he does leak that info to Pirate Island. So, on to the last thing about the chapter we got to talk about, something massive. But we see that we have switched POVs yet again. We are now getting Dragon's point of view, because Dragon, who was just a young Marine soldier at the time, he was present there. So based off of the spoilers, I'm assuming Dragon was simply one of these ships that was surrounding and protecting God Valley from outside invaders, right? I like to imagine he's with his dad. You know, I think a father-son duo of Garp and Dragon would be freaking awesome, but they don't mention Garp in this chapter, so I'm assuming he's riding solo on just one of the unnamed ships, right? So yes, Dragon was there, and I think that does fit really well with what Dragon has given us thus far, right? Because Dragon said he witnessed that there's no justice within the world government and Marines. It's because he saw God Valley. How does Dragon know about the God Knights? Well, he was at God Valley, right? It all just fits so perfectly. And then, of course, when Ivankov shows up with Dragon later on in Kuma's flashback, the reason why Ivankov might have sought after Dragon, or Dragon sought after Ivankov, is because they probably crossed paths at God Valley. So yeah, I think this is great. And I do wonder, will Dragon fight anybody? Because I think that would be amazing. You know, we need a Dragon fight. We need to see what he's capable of. We gotta see what powers he's actually sporting, because so far, right, so far we just have a lot of wind-based abilities. Is that because he's a Windalogia? Does he have a wind-based Zoan transformation? I think we could get that answer pretty soon. But there is also a chance that he just hasn't had a chance to eat any devil fruits yet, because this is still a young dragon, right? Even at this point in time, we don't get a rank here, right? The spoilers just say he's a young Marine soldier, you know? So he's not a VA, he's not a captain yet, according to our information. So yeah, Dragon, he could just have nothing. He could be very underleveled for this island for all we know. So at the end of the chapter, the reason why we switch over to Dragon's POV is because he finds Shanks and Shamrock's mom. I'm assuming the kids aren't with her. Funny enough, when I first read the spoilers, I thought the kids were with her, but no. It's just the mom. She's almost dead, and she begs him to save her kids. Dragon saves Shanks and Shamrock. That is what this is setting up. So I think this could explain why Shanks ends up in a treasure chest. Because that's been one of the big things, right? Why would Garling put his son in a treasure chest? Did Shanks stumble upon the treasure chest? Was Shanks simply going to be given out to whoever won, you know, the second prize at God Valley? It never made any sense. But now that we have this setup, that the mom is almost dead, Shanks and Shamrock are missing, Dragon could be the one who just puts him in a chest, and then he ships them off to Roger? Or maybe he, you know, finds it and then he puts it on Roger's ship so that they are guaranteed safety. It's gotta be something like that. Which is kind of funny, right? You know, Dragon, why didn't he just take Shanks with him? But maybe because he's such a low-ranking Marine at the time, he can't. Like, people would ask questions like, hey, young soldier, why do you have a baby with you? You know, what is going on here? So maybe that's the reason why he had to entrust this to pirates. But I think it's just really cool if this is what Oda's going for here. You know, if Dragon is successful, Shanks owes Dragon his life, essentially, right? And then, of course, it's funny because later down the road, Shanks saves Luffy from the Lord of the Coast. So it all just becomes this giant cycle. Also, going back to Dragon potentially fighting somebody on this island, even if he doesn't, I still think he will witness a lot of fights go down. Because to this very day, Dragon told the Revs, you know, he's like, hey guys, we have to wait for the Holy Knights to make their move first before we actually do anything. He must have witnessed the Holy Knights going absolutely crazy here. He must have seen the regeneration. He must have seen the monster transformations. And yeah, I'm excited for it, brother. And like I said, as a fight junkie fan, I hope Dragon fights somebody. I hope we get like a extreme diff battle. And I am curious now, man. Now that Dragon is the one who found Shanks and Shamrock's mom half dead, imagine if he tries to confront the father. You know, will Dragon try to fight Garling? Because I don't think that's going to go down really well. Maybe current day he'll be fine. But here, it does feel like Dragon is underleveled. How old is he at this point in time? Okay, so Dragon right now is 55 years old. So you take out 38, he is 17. He's the same age as pre-time skip Luffy. Yeah, I think he's underleveled. Yeah. I can't imagine it'll go down well. But here's the thing. Even if you don't do well in a fight, as long as you have that strong willpower, that's all that matters. You know, I love gritty fights. If he just doesn't give up and he keeps on pushing, I think that'll be a W. So, last thing I do want to touch on is Blackbeard. So, Blackbeard and his mom are slaves within the tournament, right? The God Knights are hunting them down. Pretty crazy stuff. And I think this now explains why Blackbeard might have a little bit of a hard-on when it comes to Shanks. You know, I mean, of course, not just that, but like the whole thing about wanting to become Rox's sword. You know, the ambition of Syvduck, wanting to take over the world. It's because of what he witnessed here. You know, he saw his dad die. He saw that maybe Garling was the one who initiated God Valley. And yeah, the animosity there is going to be absolutely insane. It's all explained here. And brother, this chapter, it's gearing up for something big. You know, I think this chapter is good. But what I'm looking forward to is the next chapter. You know, will we stay with Dragon? Will we get more God Valley? Will we see some fighting? Are we going to see Rox and Roger finally show up and then we cut over and then boom, we see the finale? I think Oda is building into something massive here. And at this point, I think we will see the full thing. I do think we will see the full scope of what takes place on what the chapter title calls it, the Island of Fate. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. Let me know your thoughts on these spoilers down below. What are you most excited for? What out of this chapter got you the most hype? And yeah, we'll leave off right there. Personally, I kind of want to see Wang Ji's fighting style. I know nobody's really interested in that, but I'm like, yo, dude, Wang Ji killing Don Marlone? Are you kidding me? And, you know, people are saying that's, you know, Caribou Corbu's dad. Par for the course. Par for the course. Because Caribou was known for kidnapping mermaids in Fishman Island. If this is his dad, yeah, of course he's the one who kidnapped a woman. You know, it's all clicking together. But again, you guys stay safe. I'll catch you tomorrow when the full spoilers drop. And peace out, y'all.